Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Unconditional Surrender. Game designed by game designed by Salvatore Vasta. Sold by GMT Games. Can't get my words straight here. We're getting ready to go into August. If you saw the last turn, you'll know that things did not go well for the Germans in Russia. They had two fair weather turns and barely pushed the Russians across the Dnieper. Things are just not looking good. Also, they had to use enough production points that they were not able to bring back all their airplanes, whereas the Russians were. So they will have more airplanes to use against the Germans when they try to do anything anywhere. So that's where we sit right now. And we'll just go ahead and get started here. Nobody declares war on anything. The economy. It's a repeat of last turn. So, and of course the Germans, unfortunately the Romanians keep getting in harm's way, so they have to give them a point to have them do things. British are up to 28 because they're at full now, so 8 plus 6 is 14. And the Russians are at 9 plus, minus 1 is 8, plus 7 is 15, 16, 17. So they should be at 34, I think. There we go. There's the economies. Now we go to strategic warfare. It is 0 to plus 2, and once again, the Germans rolled horribly with their submarines so that they don't have anything to play. The West has 2 Ultras, and the Russians have Partisans. And Russians chose not to play Partisans, which worked out well for them since I rolled a 1 again. And they rolled a whatever. Didn't matter. I was going to lose a factory to them. Then we go into the West, where it's plus 2 to plus 2. They play their Ultra, so I'm going to be halved. I rolled a 1, plus 2 is halved, rolls out to a 2. With his plus 2, he's guaranteed to getting at least a 4, so I lost a second factory. So next turn, I will be down to 24 production points. 15 minus 4 is 11, plus 1 reform. So I'm going to be hurting. And he gets back his Ultra in 4 turns. So things are not going well here at all, to say the least. Next up is strategic movement for the Axis, and I cannot for the life of me. I know I took it off of here, but I don't know if I actually moved anything. I think I just put it in my events. Yeah. West didn't have one, and the Soviets didn't have one. So we're off into Axis operations phase here. Here, I'm trying to figure out where's the best place to use my surprise attack marker. I could use it down here to try and get like 4 or 5 units. There I'd have 5 units under the marker. Here I would also have 5 units under the marker, but then I'm leaving my rearward flank here towards Kiev wide open. And then I went and looked up here in the north as to where I could possibly put it to maybe make a breakthrough in the north, even in the face of his aircraft, and ended up deciding on that hex, I think. There. So then I went ahead and said, well, let's see how we do here with my airplane. Gets this one. He's a minus 4, I'm a minus 2. See if I can get one of those 6s. And I didn't. So I just went ahead and ran him up. That kind of kept him from helping towards the south. Then I went down. Where did I go next? Okay, and then I went from Kiev to the second air. And this time I'm only minus 1 because of the surprise attack marker. And he's minus 4. I rolled a 4. Minus 1 is a 3. He rolled a 1, so he took 2 and I took 1. Unfortunately, I'm not within reach of the 4th air, so the Southern Air Force has to do that one. And again, I do not roll high enough, so we just take 2 sorties each. So I have 1 sortie to use around here, maybe. So I went ahead and started in the north because I could. I'm moving 1 down the rail line next to Leningrad so that his airplane has to fly away. And he chose to fly it almost to the very extent that it could fly. So he flew it all the way down to the 9th Army, down on the Desna. And then I attacked at +1 to 0. Not sure if we're going into combat commitment. Yes, we go into combat commitment. Neither one bother. And I rolled a 3 + 1. He rolled a 6, which stops me. I moved this guy around to go into Velaluki. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I went ahead and declared an assault there, but I did not resolve it. I was going to save it for later. Then the Nora infantry moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to attack this infantry. So now I am +2 to 0. I think we have to go to combat commitment again. Neither one committed. I rolled a 6 + 2, which is an 8. I'm like, hey, maybe I'll get lucky. Nope. He rolls a 4, just retreats. Says, nah, I ain't going anywhere. So now I have 1 movement, 1 more attack left, and I do not. He does. So he goes ahead and throws 1 of his 3 tanks markers here. So it's +2 to +2. I rolled a 5 + 2 is a 7, and he rolled a 3 + 2 is a 5. It's just enough to hold the hex. So I do not end up getting the first shot. The idea there was to retreat this guy so I could get the shock army in isolation and let the Panzer possibly take it out. So that didn't work. Next up, I went ahead and did the Panzer, but I attacked. Oh, no, before I did that, because his airplane could reach, I went and ran the 5th Luft against his first air, so his air is all canceled. Then I attacked north to the mountains. So I'm +3 to his 0. I only got a 5. He got a 4. So I said, that's not going to work. So I decided to go after the guy who couldn't retreat. I got an 8. He got a 7. I got a 9, and he finally rolled a number that made him be flipped. Got a 5. So 3 attacks. I managed to get 1 guy flipped. No retreats, really. If I could have made this infantry retreat, I could have brought the 10th across and possibly made an attack to get, kind of breaking the Volkhov River for the next fair weather turn, but that just didn't work. So now we come down. I think we're going to come down to the... where we're at? Yes. So I thought about starting here, and then I said, no, we're going to start with this infantry down here, down by Sebastopol. Let's zoom in since I'm going to be in here. And so I attack at +2. I'm setting my movement points at +2 to hit 0. I think we go to combat commitment. Either of us commit. And I rolled a 6 + 2, which is an 8. And he rolled a 1. So he is flipped. Retreated. I went ahead and took the hex and attacked him again, because now I'm +2 to his minus. Kind of showing him where we're going. I said, and then you could go here, but then I'd get an attack to kill him and take the city. And he decided to go this way, because he did have retreat routes if he got lucky on the die rolls. So now I'm +2 to -2. Right. And so I had a 5, but he rolled a 6, so he's a 4, so he holds. So I attack again. Combat commitment. He still did not commit. I rolled a 5, and he rolled a 6. -2 is a 4 again. So I went for the last attack, and he just said, no, I'm not going to bother. I finally rolled an 8, but then he rolled a 6 minus 2, so that's a 4. It's only a retreat. It's the one number he needed to not be eliminated. So he's only retreated. And I said, well, I really don't want to take that hex because this guards unit scares the bejeebers out of me. If he can figure out a way to push me back and run back behind, he can attack me with isolation, and I just didn't want to get there. So I stopped there. Thought about moving there. I said, nope, I'm just going to stay there. Then this is a mistake on my part. What I should have done before I started this attack is the 3rd Romanian should have moved 1 space to there. But I didn't. So 4th Panzer attacked his tanks. I am +5 because of the surprise attack marker. He is +2 with none of us able to play anything on those kinds of markers. So I rolled a 7 to his 3. 3 is enough to just be a retreat. So I attack him again. And we had to set my movement points right. And managed to only, I rolled a 9, he rolled a 5, so he was only retreated. So I went ahead and took the hex, attacked the infantry unit in the hopes of getting a really good split, +5 to 0, right? And I rolled 11. Yay! He rolled a 3. 1 high enough to not be dead. So now I had to make a decision. I only had, it was 2, 4, 6. I could have gone up there to try and kill that unit, but then what do I do with my last 2 movement points? You know, I'm kind of stuck. I could have tried to do this, attack that infantry, hope to kill it, get a no enemy zone control there, and then go 1, 2, make his airplane fly away, and then isolate this guards unit. As it was, I think I just attacked the tank. Yeah, I just went ahead and attacked the tank at +5 to +2 again. Again, trying to get that all elusive flipped unit thing. Rolled a 1, +5 is a 6. He rolled a 6, and it should have been +2. I do not know why we do not have him having +2. I rolled a 6 to his 3. There, I finally put it in there, and so he just retreats. And I really didn't want to be out there because I was sure I would end up being isolated. I figured I'm in a world of hurt already, and may end up being isolated anyway. So, ended there. Had this Panzer come up, attacked. +5 to +1, he throws a tank, so it's +3. I rolled a 7 to his 5, he holds. Now it's +5 to +1. Setting my movement points. So I get a 10 to a 7, so he's just retreated. I take the hex, attack him again. I get an 8 to a 3, so I finally get him flipped, and I'm in that same dilemma. So I chose not to go running up and trying to kill that unit because I would be too exposed for supply line purposes. And I went over here to try and make sure I can kill somebody in isolation, or hoping to. First Panzer comes down, is going to try and blow open southern part of the Dnieper. He did not commit, so it was a 5 to a 2, so it's just a retreat. So then I attacked the infantry because, hey, it's better. +4 to 0. I rolled an 8, he rolled a 3, so he was flipped, and I attacked him again. Got my 9 to a 4, so he's only retreated. I decided to go ahead and take the hex and make his airplane fly away, and then attacked one more time, and finally got my 9 to 2 minus 2 is 0, so I finally got an elimination out of him. Once again, you'll see that I've only eliminated 1 army here. And I've already spent all 3 of my tanks. So for surprise attack marker to only get 2 armies destroyed, and 2 armies flipped, but that's not the same. Not a very good surprise attack marker, to say the least. So, move the tank, Africa armies, that's 2. He is plus 5. He's plus 2 for German, plus 2 for isolated, plus 1 for surprise attack marker to plus 2. And I'm setting my movement points there, so I have 6 movement points left. I rolled an 8, and he was nice enough to finally roll low. He got a 3, so I got that. And then I went ahead and took the hex. And it's just trying to think of where I needed to go, and I'm like, I need to try and supply my... I thought about, I could try and take a pot shot at Kharkov, at the plus 3 to 0, because he still had a tanks marker, so it would have been plus 3 to... Because it cost me a movement point to go there, I only get 1 attack. It'd be plus 3 to plus 2, and if I don't retreat him and take the city, and then even if I do, he can just cut supply and just run around and just do terrible things to me. So I decided I had to play conservative and try and guard my supply line. The Romanians go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. And then I think this is a place where I make a mistake again. 1, 2, and I attack this way, and this was incorrect. This was the wrong way to do this. I probably should have taken the chance, gone like this. 1, 2, 3. I would have been plus 4 to plus 1 with 2 attacks trying to kill him. But if I fail, the guy down here goes into low supply. So that's why I attacked from here. I was, as bad as my die rolls were going, I was getting very paranoid. So I was plus 2 to plus 1, and he did not commit. I don't think either one of us committed here. Did we? No, we didn't commit. I rolled a 5. He rolled a 5. We did it again. He did not commit. I did not commit. I rolled a 3. He rolled a 4. And then we go into combat commitment again. He did not bother to go do it. He just announced once I said I was ready, and I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and throw it. I went in through the tanks marker to get me up to plus 4 to plus 1 because I had to move him off this thing here. In retrospect, if I'd have gone the other way and been plus 4 to plus 1s, I probably would have gotten him to use his tank marker, and I should have just taken the guy out of supply and just lived with it. But didn't do it. So I took the hex. Ta-da. And I think... I don't know what we're doing there. Oh, I was showing him how I would be out of supply if I didn't push him away. And then I did my last attack up here with my face-down guy here. Because he starts off at 0. I added 2 for heavy artillery, so it should make me a net plus 1 to his 0. Just hoping. Only rolled a 5 and went, oh my god. And he rolled a 3. A 5 to a 3 is a DR. He can't retreat, so I actually got another unit. Yay! Look at that. 2 whole units. That's all I did for the expense of a marker, and my artillery comes back in 3 turns. And I went ahead and took the hex because I was behind the river there. And I started to move the Romanian, and he pointed out, hey, your 4th Panzer up here would be out of supply if you do that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that, so had to not move the Romanian. And he was talking about, well, move this garrison. I said, if I do that, then this guy's out of supply, so I can't do that. So I'm just in a world of hurt. And we go to Western Ops, and you're going to see them do their thing over here. Down here in the med, where they have stuff going on. So he's attacking the 18th because he has no retreat route. He's not isolated, but he has no retreat route, and I don't have a tanks to play on him. So he is +4 net because he's a tank plus an airplane. So he's +5 -1. +4. He has 7 movement points left. He attacks. He gets an 8. I only get a 4, so I'm flipped. Now I'm at 0. He attacks again at +4. Gets a 7 to a 4, and I'm eliminated, so I lose a will point. He takes the hex. He still has... he could spend a movement point because of no enemy zone of control, which I point out to him. So he could have like moved 1 over here and then tried to push me out of Naples if he wanted. And he said, no, I think I'm just going to attack straight ahead. So he attacked straight ahead. And did he retreat me? Yes, he rolled a 10 to a 5. But he chose not to take the hex with the Canadians for... Oh, because he wanted to move the BEF up here. 1, 2. And then 3, 4, 5. And then he attacked there with his last aircraft, so he's 5 -1 is 4, +4 to +2. So he was a 6, I was a 5. And then he went ahead and did it again, which I really didn't understand. And then Western Desert Force came in, attacked at +2 to +2. Why is he at 4? He's not supposed to be at 4. Oh, because I'm isolated. That's right. So he is 3, 4, 5, -1. So he's +4 to +2, 4, an 8 to a 6. And then he could do it one more time, an 8 to an 8. So I held Naples for a turn. Oh no, he gets to attack 3 times. That's right. And now he's up to 5 sorties on this airplane down here. So it's 10 to 8. So I still held. And then he moved this guy over into Brindisi. And then he moved this American convoy with that airplane that had 5 sorties. He goes all the way up to Liverpool. Just takes the sortie on the airplane there. And then he flew the RAF from England to Plymouth. Chose not to take the home fleet with him, so I went ahead and threw my service action marker again. And it goes away in 2 turns. I failed miserably, as you'll see, a 6. I rolled a 7. I was like, I can't get any better than that. He rolls a 5 and just laughs at me. And then he goes ahead and puts him into Taranto. He should have taken another sortie here, but when we get to replacements phase, it's going to turn out to not matter. I turned on my aircraft ranges for him so that he would know where to fly with the bomber. There's path of least resistance, and then I just showed him the way we normally do this. So we take a bombed marker. Whoops, don't want that. And we just trace the path. So, and I showed him this is the shortest path to trying to get to like Aachen. I only get 2 chances to attack him, and only from the guy that's in the middle of Germany, which I went ahead and tried it. I said I'm -2, he's -3, because he's +1 for British and -2 for bomber, -2 for sorties. I could only roll a 2. So he got through. And then I tried him again when he tried to come after Dusseldorf and failed there as well. And he thought about running me up more, and he goes, no, I think I want to have my sorties back. So I think now he's just doing his replacements. This is where he... okay, and we had a problem with when he went to Russia. We had issues with his... the game seemed to freeze. So we saved everything. I saved the log file. So I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to load in the last part of this, the Russian part of the log file here for you. So you get to see some game mechanics. You close the game. No, we go load a game. We go down to the vlog file. Oops, not the VSave, vlog file. Open that up and then pop up, open all the buttons. We're in the Soviet phase, and let's just go jump over to that part of the map. And then here we go. So get that off the map for you guys. And so that was what had happened. He had frozen, and this guy suddenly ended up here by Moscow somehow. It kind of just jumped on us. So he put it back where it's supposed to start. And then he goes 1, 2, and attacks me at, I believe, +2 to 0. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to do that. And he gets, and he throws a tank, his last tank's marker, so he gets +2 to 0, gets a 7, I get a 2, so I'm flipped and retreated. He takes the hex, and then goes ahead and attacks across the river at -1 to -2. Rolled a 4, -1 is a 3. And I rolled a 4, -2 is a 2, so I rolled just enough to not retreat and kind of stopped that. If he'd have gotten that push, whether he eliminated or pushed me across, he would have had a decent chance of probably isolating these panzers by getting behind the Africa army and then pushing it, and then he could end up surrounding the panzers so that they couldn't retreat. That was what I think his plan was. But when that failed, he started thinking about where he wanted to go. So he moved his tank over here. We go +2 to +2. That was 1, 2, 3. Where did he start from? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he rolled a 6. I rolled a 7. He rolled a 7. I rolled an 8. So stop that attack. Then he moved that guy up there. Moved his guards army up to Kharkov. Moved this armored to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Put this guards army up adjacent to the Panzer. And then I'm not sure which way this guards army goes. I think it goes up here. I think he's trying to get the attack on the on the 3rd Panzer here. And then he decided, why bother? I'm just going to sit behind the river. Get this guy out of the way so that, you know, attacking on a clear weather. He's trying to force me to attack into crappy terrain, which is kind of a smart thing to do. And then he was done. He still has like 22 left, but he has 12 to do in armies. And he's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to flip. So that's 19 on the board, which would leave him 3. And in his build box is an armored and a shock, which is 3. So he'll get everything built and have everything replaced by the end of his turn. So he's not in a hurry to push the Germans out. He's fairly confident that I'm not going to get, since I don't have a surprise attack marker anymore, I really don't have a big push. And I don't have a lot of points left. I have 12. And in the replacements phase, you will see that I flip an infantry unit there. And because of me losing an infantry in Italy, I had to flip the infantry in Venice. And then I went back over and had to decide which airplanes were more important. So I did the 2 central airplanes here. And then I did the one in Germany. I have 1 production point left. We go to the west. He has, gets his 4 for his bomber. Started to do this airplane, and then he later on changes his mind on that because he realizes he runs out of points when he gets down here to this place down here. He wanted to have that, and he didn't have enough points to do it, so he chose to take that airplane and undid the one up in the north. And in the Soviets, as I pointed out, they flipped their ground units, get all their airplanes back. There's an upgrade for the West. Western Desert Force becomes a real boy, becomes the 8th Army. So I'll be facing 2 armored units now. And Soviets don't have anything. Mobilization, I did have 1 point, and I believe I built the garrison. Or Yugoslavs built that and the garrison in Munich. The West, did they have anything? Oh yeah, they got the American fleet in. And in the Soviets, put their armored unit in Bryansk. And their shock unit out in Rezev. No diplomacy, victory check. We're at the end of turn phase, where again, just a whole bunch of stuff comes in for the West. So 2 submarines for the Germans, a tanks marker, an aircraft for the Americans, 2 tanks markers for the British, 2 more tank markers for the Russians, and tank army for the Russians. And then we had variable entry. So we jumped up, we went and grabbed the stack. I had 1 German armor and the rest is all Russians, something like 8 or 9 Russians. Whole ton of Russians here. So we roll for the German unit. Of course I get a 6. And he gets a 5, 2, 5, 6, 3, 3, 3, 6, 3, 1. I actually took that string of numbers and put it in the... I do this when you're doing this and you have that many. You can go here and you can go Control-C and just put it here. And then it'll stay there so you can go down the units. And then we just started moving them. There's 5. That one should have been a 2, and we moved it afterwards. Right. So his stuff's coming in a little bit off in the distance. One thing that comes in right away will be his heavy artillery next turn, and then he'll slowly get upgrades and tanks units up through March here, so that he'll have quite the array of an army to come pounding on me in the summer of 43. And I believe the next thing we do is the weather die roll, because we tend to do that. Oh, there's no weather die roll because it's going to be spring. Still September, and so we're done. So, between the last video, which I know lasted a little long, this one's probably lasting a little long too. Fair weather turns tend to do that. But, I mean, from June of 42 to August of 42, I've barely reached the Volkhov and Leningrad. I've finally pushed him pretty much across the Duna. Have not touched the upper Dnieper. Smolensk is pretty secure. I'm barely holding out on the lower Dnieper because if I push too much this way, he's got a counterattack this way from the north. He's got armor there. a mobile unit that can move around and stuff, so I have to worry about that. And I really think that my September 42 turn, the Germans are going to have to go on the defensive. They might make a couple of attacks to like retreat guys so that they can get, a little better position. But in general, the Germans are already retreating in September of 1942 because they just simply cannot hold. I don't have the production points to keep my Air Force up. I'll only have 24 next turn, so I won't really have enough to do a proper two-pronged offensive on him to, threaten things. The offensive in the north went nowhere. The offensive in the south went nowhere. So all in all, a very depressing 3 fair weather turns for the Germans. And meanwhile, I'm getting, beaten back here in Italy because he's going to have 2 armored units and 2 air units, and I don't see me holding real long in Italy either. Fortunately, if I might get lucky and get some poor weather here in October and November in the warm zone. I can't remember what the new table is on that. Let's take a quick look. In the warm zone, he's only got a 1/3 chance of getting fairs in October and or November. If I get severe in October, he gets a 50-50 chance of a fair in November. So I want pours. I want 4 die rolls. I want 3s each time in the warm zone. Just to keep him from taking too many hexes. But yeah, basically I ran out of time. I had 1 shot here in 42 to try and push him back. Like I said in the beginning of the last video, where I really wanted to be was somewhere along the Kharkov, Kursk, Orel, Bryansk, Smolensk line, maybe threatening Rostov by the end of September of 42, because that's a fairly defensible arc. In 1943, you can give a couple hexes every turn and end up back on the Dnieper for the winter of 43 to 44. And then 44 is let him fight you back to, the Low Countries, Eastern Poland, Bessarabia, Romania. And hopefully by 45, you're defending along the Polish and Yugoslavian borders from the eastern perspective. It's not going that way. Things are collapsing. It seems like I'm a year behind. And I attribute that to the Italian going to the west. I really feel like it takes an entire year away from the Germans. So if I had been thinking about it, I would not have done the Eastern invaded back when I came across in 1941. It was just too tempting to try and kill all those Russian units. But it was a chimera. It wasn't really something that would work. Anyway, discussion of strategy and stuff at a later time. I think that if I had just declared on Russia and just ignored 1941, didn't attack them at all, just defended, only kill Russian units that cross over into my territory, leave them alone so that they don't get the Russian winter would go off without hurting me at all, and he wouldn't get his East invaded until the U.S. came in January of 42, which means I'd only be facing the Russian army now, but the idea was to make one attack, one big offensive to get some defensive lines and then otherwise stop. And I could have ended up at the same place where I'm at now, and I would have lost as many units and things like that. So that's what you have to deal with this game. It's swingy. When you fail, I thought I got some decent die rolls, but they weren't just quite good enough to, by the time I got flipped units in that offensive, they were at the end of my movement phase. If I'd have gotten those flipped units earlier, I might have destroyed some. Then I might have taken the chance to go and run and take a Kharkov and a Kursk and, leave a thin line here because I'm threatening to totally run around behind and cut off this whole army here if I can get to Bryansk. But that's not the way it worked out, kids. So, anyway, I am Dren608. If you like my videos, please subscribe, hit that like button to keep algorithms happy for YouTube, keep everybody able to find these things. And until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye.